So in 1994, I experienced what I believe was my first love. I was in the Coast Guard Academy at the time and not very happy with what I was doing and was really unclear of my path. And I met this man who was also in the Coast Guard, and our relationship, slowly evolved. And I started to experience what I thought, was, gosh, this is true love. And I just wanted to be around him more and just be with him more and just more and more and more. And I remember, a couple months into our relationship, he was like, you're kind of like tape. And I was like, I don't think that's a compliment. Basically, he was saying that I was needy, I was clingy. And it makes sense because, I was young and inexperienced, hadn't ever been in love before, and put so much pressure on what it meant to be in love and all this, crazy fairy tales we hear as women growing up. So it definitely sort of threw me off. And, the relationship ended up not working out, which totally makes sense. But it revealed to me where I was misguided and where I was placing so much of my importance and my value was in men, of course. And part of that was, what I had thought I had to look like and who I had to be and what I had to do. And there's all this pressure because where all that was coming from was this deep desire, of course, to be loved, to experience love. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's a pure desire. However, I was seeking to have that need met in misguided ways through men, through looking a certain way, through achievements, through, societal success and external validation. And so it took, some years, and I ended up going into studying psychology after that. And because I'd always been fascinated and had actually started studying psychology as an adolescent, and just was fascinated with the mind and understanding what drives us, right? So through a lot of my own, personal development work, I came to discover that time after time, our core desire, all of us, all the things that we do, all the work that you do, the way that you want, not only just your job, your vocation, but also the work that you do on yourself to look a certain way, to be a certain way, to improve your mind, to improve your body, to improve your spirit. All of that is stemming from this deep rooted desire to be loved and to experience joy and to experience what it feels like to love and be loved in return and to have freedom in that. And we seek it out in relationships and in careers and in achievements, in social status, in our bodies, in our appearance. And often when that need is not getting met, because it won't be met in this world, we then start to seek out addictions to kind of numb that feeling of not having that need met. And then, what happens is you start to develop strong negative beliefs about what's possible for you and about who you are. And all of this, of course, stems from your primary relationship and what you learned about yourself as a child, which no matter how amazing your parents were, if they were amazing, they're flawed. Of course, they're human beings. And the best they could do is still not going to be enough to give you that need that you truly desire to have met, to be loved. So what I want to share with you is what you can do to create and receive your true heart desire, which I mentioned at the core of what you desire, again, whether that's better health, better relationships, better career, the core of that is that you're really seeking an experience of love, an experience of joy, an experience of peace and freedom. So I'm going to talk about how you can get that met. And what you will find is when you come into that place where you're truly seeking the core of your desires, the result of your desires will be all those things that previously you were seeking. So you will have a much more intimate, deep, and loving relationship. You will have much more fulfillment in your career, and you will have much greater mental and physical health in your body. So the first step is to know who God is. Because this is where that core desire comes from in the first place, is that longing to come back to God, to who created us. So there's always this call to him. And when we don't know who he is and we place human characteristics on God from our parents or from authority figures, we have a misguided idea of who God is. We think he's an authoritarian. We think he's, of course, flawed. We think he's partial, that he loves others more than he loves us, and that other people can have what they desire, but we can't because something's wrong with us. And we start to associate God with human error, and that's not who he is. And that can create a lot of disconnection from God. It can create a lot of disconnection from yourself. It can create a lot of discord, really, in yourself, because at your core, you are meant to be really an expression of love, and that comes from who God is. Who God is, an expression of love. God is love, and when you don't know truly who he is, it's easy to get mad at God, to be disappointed in God, to not have a relationship with God, to not believe in God. And society will definitely, encourage you on that route 100%. And so it's definitely a bit revolutionary or radical, perhaps, to believe in God these days and to claim that you do love God, because it's not all that socially acceptable, unfortunately. But the truth is, once you know who God is, you want to spend time with him, because you will learn and know that he is good and he is loving, he is patient, he is kind, he is faithful. Even when you've turned your back on him, he is faithful. He will never turn your back on you. He'll never forsake you. And that desire, like my desire from my boyfriend to have more of his love and to have more of him, which he couldn't give me because he's a human being, of course, and no human being can give that to you, but God can. God's love is everlasting and infinite. It will never run out. The more you want of it, the more he'll give it to you. He's never going to turn away from you. He's never going to shut off his love for you. And so knowing that and just owning that really frees you up to open yourself to even more of what you desire. So the key here is really, coming into devotion to God and wanting to know him and seeking him and knowing the truth of who he is, not who society says, but who he is, what his word says he is. So that's the first step. The second step then is, once you know God, is to know who you are because you know God. So you are created in God's image. So you are also have those characteristics within you. They may not be active currently, but they're there. So you have the characteristics of being loving and kind and patient and have self-control and to be forgiving. That is who you are, because you're made in his image. And when you know that, then all the lies that you thought about yourself, that you're not good enough, that you have to prove your worth, that you'll never figure it out, that there's something fundamentally wrong with you, all those negative beliefs and lies that you've had in your life and that oftentimes have prevented you from really experiencing your true heart desires, they get like wiped out, wiped clean. They have no weight. They have no power over you anymore when you know the truth of who you are in God. And once you know the truth of who you are in God, this leads to the third step. The third key is, once you know God and once you know yourself, and part of knowing yourself is, I'm going to add to this really quick before we get to the third step, is renewing your mind daily. And I would say more than daily. If you're anything like me, those negative thoughts keep coming back. And so it's having the spiritual discipline to take every thought that is bringing you like discord, to bring it into the light and to expose it to the truth. What is the truth? Is it true that you're not worthy? Is it true that you'll never figure it out? Is it true that you're fundamentally flawed? No. Well, what is the truth? Well, you're created in God's image. You are made to do good works. And that God has plans for you that are for good and to have a future and to have life in all its fullness. That's the truth. And you have to keep renewing your mind with that truth. over and over and over again. And as you do, you'll start to restore your heart. So you allow yourself to experience love. You allow yourself to give love in ways that you never even thought was possible. You know, being able to love people that before you had thought were unlovable, being able to love at a deeper level than you've ever experienced, and to receive love in that same way. So once you have those first steps, knowing God, being in devotion to Him, knowing yourself, renewing your mind, restoring your heart with the truth. The third step in then is to take action with faith and confidence because you know who God is and you know who you are. So what happens here is then you're shifting from having to do in order to prove who you are and that you're worthy and deserving of love to doing as a result of who you're being. So when you're coming from the truth of who you are and you know you are loved, you are created in His image, then the expression of that, the result of that, the actions you take from that come from that. So who you are being flows into changing the types of actions you take. And so you no longer are taking actions out of striving, out of proving. You're taking actions because you desire to share the gifts that God gave you and being attuned to those gifts and being attuned to the truth and wanting to share that with others because it is in highest service to others to share your gifts with others. That's what you're designed for. They're not just for you. So then it becomes this natural flow. So it becomes, instead of like, I have to prove and you have to do, and then maybe you'll get what you want, but then it might be taken away or it won't be satisfying because then you'll want more because it's never enough. You'll come from a place of this really true, beautiful inner security so that your actions are a result of your beliefs and your being. So your behavior is a result of your being instead of trying to change your behavior to change your being. So your being changes first. It changes from the inside out. And that's what changes your actions. And of course, my friends, that's what changes your results. And when you're coming from this place, and I have seen this in my life, I've seen this in my clients' lives over and over and over again, that when you come from this place first, you're rooted and grounded in the truth and really, you know, obeying what you're hearing from spirit of the actions to take and getting out of and really renewing your mind. So you're quitting the second guessing and questioning. What you will see is incredible. I mean, just your relationship will increase as far as intimacy, communication, connection, love, passion. You will start to experience greater abundance in your life. I've had, you know, clients reach out to me, to my clients. I've had clients reach out just from being in this energy, not from doing any promotion, marketing, sales, from being in this energy. For me too, I've also had, you know, random checks in the mail just out of nowhere. I mean, it really shifts because what you're doing is you're opening yourself up to believe you are supported and you are loved. And so that's when all that you desire can come in. When you're coming from a place of disbelief, that's when you're blocking all that you desire from coming in, despite how much you might be working for it. So I'm going to share two of my favorite scriptures that help with this, because really what this is rooted in the core of this and why this is so difficult, and it definitely has been, I'll admit, difficult for me, is belief. So I'm going to share, this is from Mark 9:23. If you can believe, all things are possible to him who believes. And it is so hard for us to believe that we are so deeply loved because we are so flawed. We've made so many mistakes. We have done so many things that we're not proud of and that we may be ashamed of. And so it's really hard for us to believe that we were loved. But when we can truly believe and know who God is and know who we are, that's when all things that we desire are able to come into realization for us. And the second one is from Luke 1:45, which is, blessed is she who believed. So believing becomes before the blessing, 100%. So you have to believe. And if this is something that you are, tired of doing the mindset work, tired of doing inner child work, shadow work, all the stuff, all the work, to try and get yourself to really, attract what it is that you desire, whether that's your, desiring deeper intimacy in your relationship, or desiring a relationship, or if it's really a higher expression of your work and your calling and wanting that to really start to blossom and be financially abundant, or whether it's your health and you just are tired of like having chronic pain or being overweight or wrestling with emotional eating and over drinking and just feeling really disconnected from your body. I invite you to join me next Tuesday on the summer solstice. I am starting a 4-week group experience called Playful and Grateful, because this is where all transformation occurs. This is where you're going to have the biggest changes and receive the greatest gifts of abundance. Because what you're doing is you're taking the pressure off and you're entering into a place of exploring and reconnecting with your true identity in God and what that looks like, and uncovering all the stories that you believe that have held you back and bringing them into light and refining that old story into what was the gift in it, and revealing the truth of the true story so you can start living into that true story. And that's what creates that inner security where you start to take bold actions and start to create massive changes within you without having to change anything in your world. And that's when everything in your world changes. So I'm super excited. Like I said, I've seen so many amazing outcomes, results, transformations. Like I mentioned, clients coming to me, my relationship completely transforming, like being able to, like the love I feel is just, I can't even describe it. It's not of me. And then also, like receiving checks in the mail, receiving the best thing probably above all, which I would imagine all of you agree with, is like letting go of all that anxiety, letting go of all that pressure, all that stress, all that worry, and coming into a place of inner security and being able to experience more freedom in who you are and what you stand for and what you truly desire, and owning that it is able to come to you once you open yourself to really believe the truth about who you are and who God is. So I will put a link in the comments, and I encourage you just to message me and if you have questions. We start on Tuesday, the solstice, so June 21st. And it's 4 sessions, 4 weeks. We are going to go deep into uncovering the story that has held you back, and again, revealing the gift in it and being able to really transform that into and create that new story of you being, in joy and thriving in your relationship and having more love, having greater fulfillment, having greater peace, and really having more freedom and being who you're meant to be. And then creating spiritual disciplines of intentional joy and really, like I mentioned, renewing your heart and restoring your mind back to the truth. And through that, what you'll start to see even within the first week is things will start to change. You'll start noticing how people are interacting with you are different, what you're like, things that are starting to come to you out of nowhere, and really stepping into the bold-hearted woman that really God designed you to be. Because truly, joy is your natural state. One of my other favorite scriptures that I'll leave you with is from from James. This is James 1, chapter 1, verse 2. And he says, "Count it all joy when you fall into various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces patience. But let patience have its perfect work, that you may be perfect and complete, lacking nothing." And that is exactly what we're going to do in this 4-week group experience. So be prepared to experience, honestly, miracles. All right, I can't wait to see you there. Message me if you have questions. I will put some information in the comments. And I would love to hear for you, what is it that your true heart desire is? What is it that you are truly wanting to create and receive? And that is exactly what we will create for you to receive in this 4-week program. All right. Talk to you all soon.